Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi. It's such a pleasure to be here once again. This is the Good Morning Education Show. Apologies for we've actually had um, a lot to do and still in the business of education. So let me welcome you once again. I'm streaming from Lagos, Nigeria, to West Africa, and the entire world. This is the Good Morning Education Show. Tell someone to tell someone the show is on, the show started, and you don't want to miss what we have for you today. On the Good Morning Education Show today, we'll be talking about interesting conversations and helping people how to, get the best and the most out of a lot of things. One of the things that we'll be talking about today is getting the best from trainees. I'm sure you're not a stranger when it comes to trainings. Trainings are important tools, and useful tools to get to where we ought to be. And today we're going to be using that same concept of training to position ourselves to be the best that we ought to be, the best that we can be, to get the best that we should have. Um, a lot of things are going to be uh, dissected, as it were. But as usual on the Good Morning Education Show, we talk about issues around business, the world of education, within around the world of education, and we also spend some time to look at the headline news if there are. And then from the headline news, we tackle some of those issues, and then we come back to the subject matter of the day, where we're joined by experts, analysts who share their views, who share their thoughts on the subject matter of the day. And today would not be an exception. I repeat, today would not be an exception. Before we start the headline, why not just tell us your name and your location where you're streaming from and say a good morning to everyone out there. Good morning to our tribe members. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. It's always a pleasure to have you. Always a pleasure to host you. And like I said, on the show, we're going to have headlines, and our headlines would also take us to look at some of the things that we need to do and get to um, also achieve. The first headline that I'll be talking about this morning um, is a bit on the side of ASU. I'm sure ASU is not a strange subject matter when it comes to the world of education. ASU is would you call it ASU is a common feature, you know, when it comes to this subject matter. So we're going to be talking about what's happening. The very first headline says that head of service, you know, ignorant of our union, says ASU president. And I'm going to be welcoming one of our tribe members and analyst KK. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning, Mr. Rotimi. Good morning,
Fantastic,
everyone.
fantastic. So good to have you on the show. So we're trying to start off with a very good headline, and it's talking about the ASU comment. We're talking about the head of service ignorant of our union, says ASU president. What's your take on that?
I mean, I don't get it. That's classic case of a house divided against itself. Because I don't understand how the head of service would not be, and then they ask, even if they are, must they say it out loud for everybody to now understand what's going on, So, to be honest, that's honestly, the house divided against itself, then now washing their
That's
dirty
that.
linen. I, I. Yeah, so it didn't make any sense at all for me looking at that headline.
Yeah, I feel it was just someone trying to score a very nasty point.
Ah, I mean, it'll be interesting to
uh,
hear what the head of service says. Their own,
of
his own response.
Well, some things are a bit political, so let's watch and see. Yeah. All right. Next headline says UNICEF from UNICEF, Nigerian education crisis majorly affects girls, children with disability. Uh, what what do you think?
I think it's a bit more than that. So yes, they could be a larger percentage of the population. And again, we're talking demographics here. So where is that data focused on? Are we focused on the north, the southwest, the south, the east? So but most of the time, most of this data is coming out of the north, right? So in the north, then that's a cultural context. And that's what I guess we need to begin to look at in education, right? And even put it out there in the world. The way we do education in Africa, in Nigeria, is different. For them,
Mm,
their own metrics are different. Our context is very different. In the North, culturally, they believe, and that's their belief system, that girls have a certain level they should. Is it right or wrong? That's not the debate here. The debate here is they just don't believe their girls should be in school at a certain time. So how do we create educational systems that takes into cognizance that cultural perspective and then make it work and shift this mindset that this type of data, because it's not, it may not be the full reality. This is based on their own standards, a UNICEF standard, which may not necessarily work within the Nigeria or African context. So again, like I said, it's mostly demographics. Because if you look at it differently from another part of another region of the country, Nigeria is a huge country, to be honest. If you look at another
yeah,
region of the country, the data and the statistics will tell a slightly different story.
absolutely, I agree with you. Which is where people keep saying that we talk about education from just one standpoint, and
Yeah.
education, if it's going to be broad based, it should factor the social realities of wherever you're looking at, you know. So so another interesting headline here says International Day of Education, Rocha's Foundation condemns bullying, killing of school children in Nigeria. Okay, yeah, quite.
Because I mean, I'm wondering where that is coming from. Why is he condemning bullying? And I mean, bullying is systemic in Nigeria. I'm sorry to say, but it's systemic. It's across so many different areas of the organization. Yes, it should be condemned. That's not my point. My point is, what's why? I mean, I need to dig a little deeper into
Long
that.
news.
And what we're even looking at here is beyond the International Day of Education, looked beyond even some of these issues. So I wish he had spoken, actually, lent his voice to the issues of accessibility to education, to quality of education, to sustainability of education, right? I wish he had lent his voice to that as well. I just feel that people like to jump on the headline. But yes, I agree. We condemn we condemn bullying in all of its ramifications, both in and out of the education sector. But then when it says killing of children, then we're looking at the Kano issue. You say, oh, to me, that Kano issue is mad. What? But it's crazy on its own. But how could they now shut down, revoke the license of private schools? How in heavens, how does that help? Okay, that's not what we're talking about. So let me stop.
You know that sometimes when it comes to all this news, you just want to take some time back and just sit down and
I won't,
watch
right?
this unfold because the moment you start getting mentally involved, it's like it's like it's like watching Super Eagles lose a match. Yes,
Oh, goodness.
an interesting headline, however, that I'd like us to talk about is from the Kwara
Hmm.
State conversation. Muslim students free to wear hijab. Kwara government tells school.
The very beauty of a uniform is the standardization, the uniformity that it brings.
That's why it's
Yeah,
called uniform.
that's why it's called a uniform, exactly. So by the time you then
Unified
say,
form.
what?
I said a unified form.
Exactly, a unified. Oh God, Rosby, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. brilliant. It is a unique form. So introducing, and again, that's what I guess that other headline where we talked about cultural context, right? That comes into play here. But I mean, I don't know, is it right? Is it wrong? You know what? They should just be then ready to for every other religion to, you know, get their own in as well. If they can do this for one, because that's the thing. If you can do it for one, then you should be ready to do it for everybody. Because if anybody can say, "Oh, I don't want my daughters wearing pinafores. I want them wearing trousers," or anything could happen, and they will have to listen. So, the Kwara State government needs to understand that it must be flexible, not just to one religion, right? Because then we're talking inequality here. It must be ready to be flexible for all religions and taking even social constructs as well with regards to uniform and dressing patterns. So it really needs to be ready for that. But whether it's right or wrong, I mean, it's all a matter of context. As long as the children are in school and learning and happy, so it should just be ready, or the government should be ready for everything else that might potentially be a fallout of that signing that into agreeing with that.
I also think that the way we struggle and complain about our constitution in Nigeria is the same thing that is actually affecting the education system, because so many things are happening out of planning. It's not, it's as a
Exactly.
result of there is no design. It's so
None.
many things are now turning into the issue of how you
Yeah.
feel, what's the
Yeah.
mood,
Yeah.
sentiments, non-objectivity. It's such a sad one. But then on a
Yeah.
lighter note, JAM announces date for 2022 UTME direct
They
entry.
got very, very, very efficient.
You feel they're efficient?
Ah, to be announcing the date this early. One try.
It's not. It's really not early though, because anyway, let me not say anything. All right,
So
let's
that's
let's.
but having that, my question really, and I wish this young lady was on the show. I'm wondering if they've even gotten their act together, with regards to. I mean, last time there was so much upheaval after the results came out. I'm wondering, have they been able to close those gaps? Are they sure that they're ready? Have they sensitized stakeholders about what to expect? All of that. That I mean, when I saw that headline, that popped into my head.
Yeah, well, the issues that come with JAM. All right, so let's take one more because I really want us to talk about today's topic,
Nope.
having KK in the show. So 2022 budget, Save the Children urges Nigerian government to increase
Just
education funding investment to 14%.
yeah,
14%. Yes, positive.
yeah, positive. Let's hope. But I mean, most importantly, can they even tell us what they're going to spend all this money on? Sale, you know, But yes, if we can get an increase, I mean, budget found all these repeated projects now, so they should be able to add all that money back into education. And they call Rotimi to come on the panel to distribute the money. I don't know what you're doing. Call my name.
KK will be head of finance committee.
Call my name.
Yeah, there are some positions that once you have like this, you just write a letter, a letter to yourself and your constituent, just
Oh,
in case it's not me. Oh. Wow. All right. Well, let's just go straight to the conversation of the day. And I think that it's important, and having been in development space and human capital development space, I've seen so many things, and there's a trend that is happening, um, that is also
mhm,
worrisome. And being a coach, sometimes you also see that people approach good things and the right things for the wrong reasons with the wrong motive. And sometimes when they now have the wrong results, it now looks like all the while this was a scam or stuff like that. And that's why we want to talk about this topic today, getting the best from
I love
training.
this topic, actually. I didn't even know this was the topic. I love it.
Getting the best from trainings, because I think not so many people have been able to get the best from trainings out there, you know. And there's a lot around the angles to this kind of topic. So I like you to just take a step to just start off on the conversation. Getting the best from training. Is it even possible to get the best from training? If yes, how do we get the best from training? Well, are trainings overrated? Is it overhyped? So many people just get fatigued of learning because they just say, oh, another thing, another training. And of course, we'll talk about the upcoming webinar. But it's important for people to know, how do people, is there a preparation aside the facilitator? I know facilitators prepare, but participants, should they prepare? Over to you.
I mean, the first thing that I would say is training is important. Very important. Training is good. It's good it's good for you. It's good for your organization. For those of us who are going to be listening into this, so training is important. That's the first thing. How do you get the best of it? For me, the purpose of a thing determines how you use it. So you need to ask yourself, before I go for training, and there are a lot of trainings that I go for. I'm currently even planning a few trainings, and I'm saying to myself, how do I position it such that every participant gets the best of it, right? So that's on the trainer. But for you, the participant that wants to go for a training, the first thing you need to first of all ask yourself, why? And funny enough, wrote to me, I did a post on this morning on Instagram. Why?
Wow.
Why? I mean, it's just such amazing coincidence, to be honest. Why? Why do you want to go for this training? We need to ask ourselves that question. Why do you want to go for this training? Because if you don't understand why you're going for something, then it really doesn't have any meaning to you, right? It's just for you to get the certificate and check the box and say, I've done this thing. And we cannot be doing things like that. We cannot be those people who simply do things because we're checking boxes. Not if you want it to be effective, if you want it to actually meet the goals for which you went for it. So you need to first of all say, why? Why am I doing this? When you determine why you need to get into that training, why that training is important for you, and that means that you've actually done another analysis of yourself, right? And said, oh, I'm lacking in this area, in this area, in this area. This is where I'm failing at. So when you agree that you're failing, maybe not even failing, but maybe not being the best, then you can then say, oh, I'm going to do this. So you don't see a training. So that's the order of it, right? You see a need that needs to be closed, a gap that needs to be closed, and then you say, how do I close it? Do I need a coach? Do I need a mentor? Do I need a career body? Do I need a training? And then you arrive at, I need a training, right? But don't flip it. A lot of times I see that people flip it. Oh, there's this training, though, it's going to be great. Great doesn't mean it's great for you, right? So that's what we need to do. So do that initial analysis of yourself and say, how do I need it? And in doing that, you then get to that point, Mr. Rotimi, which, because you've done the analysis and you said, I'm going to need this, then you then ask yourself, in what areas am I going to need this? So me, for example, now, if I needed to go for any training, the training that I'll probably be going for is how to speak a little slower. And I've done some trainings on that already. Yeah, I've been training myself with that already. Oh, how do you talk a little slower so that people can grab the gist? Yes, it's my passion. When I'm really passionate about something, I just fly into it. But I've realized that I'm not talking to myself, I'm talking to individuals, right? So for me, when I go into that training, I know why I'm going there and what am I going to be able to gain from it. I sit down in every training I go for, and what I do is I draw a line, right? In my book, I can't go for a training and not have writing material, even if I'm writing on my phone. And I will draw a line in the middle and say, what is the old, what is the new? The old, for example, is the way I'm currently doing it. And what I'm gaining from the training is going to inform what I need to start to do. So I already have action points from there because I already know, oh, these are the areas I need to work on. And then I have my action point. So going out of that training, I know what I need to start to do. The next step, to be honest, is to then I always tell people I approach things generally from a project management perspective. That project management that says, oh, what needs to be done? How do you allocate time to it? What is the weight? What should come first? How do you break it into the modules? That's how I typically
Hello. Hello, Kiki, are you there?
approach things, because I honestly just
Oh, I think we have network glitches there. Kiki, can you hear me? Okay, if you're joining us, this is the Good Morning Education Show, and we are having a great time this morning. We're speaking about getting the best from trainings, and we have KK, um, okay, for Ajay, also known as KK, in the building, and she's trying to just show us what should be the right disposition that we should have when it comes to training, and how do we get the best from training. She's mentioned so many things. The first thing is that training is important, and you need to agree that training is important. I also tell people you must see that training is not just an event. Training also creates experience. Training is a tool, and it's used to help us translate from where we are to where we ought to get to. And in going through that, you discover even how to get to where you're going to. And she said something very important also, that when you're going for a training or you want to be a part of a training, you must decide to choose the area that you know is going to be of benefit. It's almost like saying that, okay, having answered the question why should I attend this training? Then I need to now choose, the area that is most required in the training, because training sometimes can have a very big front or scope, but you also know where you need help the most, you need information the most, where you value things the most, and you are able to now go through that. And also another interesting thing that KK was talking about is that she does not go into any kind of training without a writing material. Very profound, or a device to capture information with. So I think we have KK back. KK, are you back? Yes. Welcome back.
thanks. I mean, I was struggling to get back in. I don't know what was going on there with with the network. So where was I? I was talking about um action items. So know what it is that you would like to change as the training is going on, because you're writing it down and you're reflecting immediately, right? You don't change because you learn something. You actually change because you're reflective. So reflect on who you are, and that's why there's some really good trainings that you go for, and that for me is the hallmark of a good training. When there's that reflection time after each session, the trainer actually says, "So you know what? Take a moment and reflect." That reflection time, don't use it to go on Instagram or check your WhatsApp messages. Actually reflect, because you pay for that training, even if it's free. Your time is the most important resource that you have, and it is not limitless. So use that time wisely and reflect and write it and say, these are the things I'm going to change. I mean, don't try not to do too much at the time, which is why I say put timelines. That's for me. I put timelines to it. Once I have those timelines, it's then easy for me to progress using the timelines, because I'm almost like I'm holding myself accountable, but I'm also pacing myself. So it's really important for us to pace ourselves. Another thing that I like to do to myself is to write my success metrics. So how do I know I'm successful? How do I know that this training actually met its mark? So after doing these are my action plans. This is the time I'm going to start doing them. I would write. So it's almost like I'm doing a vision board for myself based on that training. I mean, so for somebody listening to this, you might say, this is really intense. But if you want to change, then you're going to have to do the things that would enable you to make that change happen. And for me, that's how I do it. Another thing is that I like envisage myself that, okay, these skills that I didn't have, if I have it now, what will it look like? So I would write out success metrics is what I call them. I don't know what if there's another name for it, but this is what, when I'm successful at this is what it looks like, and that becomes something that I can see, and I don't just write it. I sorry, I don't just write it. I actually put a picture to it. I would score. So I take my time. So I don't just attend the training, especially when it's something that I've paid for and I've sourced for. If I'm going to support somebody, that's different. I'm coming, Mr. Rotimi is having a training, and I'm like, you know what? Let me go and support Mr. Rotimi in that training. I would learn from Mr. Rotimi on that training, but I may not have gone through all of these steps because I didn't plan to just, I didn't take that time to say, this training, I looked for, so Rotimi is like, I need to go, I need to be there, let's go. That sort of thing. But when I've left that training, I can then go back and do some of these things, right? So those are some of the steps that I take in ensuring that I get out of the training what it is that I intended to get from it. It's very important. I also try and do something very quickly. Within the first 24 hours after that training, I try and make sure that I start doing something, because our brains are actually designed to forget. So if you don't do something based on what you've learned, that thing is just going to it's just going to stay in your working and short-term memory, and eventually you just lose track of it. So I don't want that happening to me. So I try my best to make sure that,
Absolutely.
and this is scientific fact, I try my best to ensure I've put in something very quickly, and that works. So, those are ways that we can honestly get the best out of trainings. This is the way I have gotten the best out of training. Yes, so let me
Fantastic.
have the let me have the back to you.
That's so powerful. Listening to all that you reeled out, I think it's also going to be a note to people who conduct and facilitate trainings as well. It's not just the recipient, because what you've said is showing that there's been a lot of housekeeping. For you to be able to even have that, your training materials could also reflect
Yeah,
making provisions for that. And I
yeah,
love the fact that what you said has brought me to the question I was planning to even ask. I didn't know that you're going to go there, which is more like, what should be the ideal training etiquette? Because it seems like there is no governing behavior that conditions people. I've been privileged to be in forums and trainings within and outside the country. And thankfully, it's not just when I was facilitating. Sometimes as a facilitator, you are immune to some behavior and some things. You just coming close to the time you want to deliver. In some
yeah.
cases, you are ostracized from the atmosphere. But when you are probably facilitator and participant, so it's just not your turn, but you have to sit till it's your turn and behave like you're every other person. You now see that these things are different. you know so sometimes you just wonder, even up to the fact that it amazes me that we don't even have lots of questioning in trainings, and then but it's meant to be a training. I don't know, but let's explore what should be training etiquette, especially now, participants. And of course, I know you chip in the digital reality, because when COVID came, we also found a new curve, especially using Zooms and likes. Mute your mic. You know this. Over to you. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Training etiquette. So I'm happy that you said it. So when you look at training etiquette, so let's look at it from two perspectives. Well, we're saying getting the best out of training, but I think it's also important that we look at things. Sorry, I'm writing because I'm trying to marshal my thoughts as we're speaking. I will look at it from two points of view. the participant and then the organizer of the training, right? Organizer, I will put in the facilitators for sessions as well. So as a participant, and then of course we'll look at a virtual training and then an in-person training, like you said, like you said, because that is our reality right now. In fact, when I'm planning my trainings, the first thing that I say to my team is, are we having a hybrid, or are we doing it fully online or fully physical, or the three? So that's the first question I ask them right now. So when they say, oh, there's something we'd like you to train on, and so the initial thing is, as a participant, when you're coming for a training, you need to be ready for that training. And that's part of etiquette. And you understanding the fact that, oh, you know what, I need to go with my biro, my sheet of paper. Sometimes, depending on the person, go with your tissue. Depending on the place you're. I'm sorry, go with your bottle of water. I think that's really important. So you go in there, go in with an open mind, go on time. It's very, honestly, I see it as very wrong, and like you're not even ready for the training when you come in after the session has started, and then you don't even do it quietly. You're noisy, looking for seats. Also, can I sit here? Oh, shift. I just don't think that should be done at all, even in an online training. For online training, you're coming into a session, mute your mic. Yes, so in your settings on Zoom or on Google Meet, I think Google Meet mutes you as soon as you come in, but Zoom doesn't do that. So go to your settings and say, mute me when I'm entering a meeting. For me, I not only mute myself, I turn off my video, so that when I then come in, I might choose to turn it on, right? So it's really important that we mute our mics, and do it from your settings. Mute it so that you don't come in with all that background noise and you just derailed the speaker. And that's incorrect. And again, it's because you're not prepared for it, right? Same thing in the physical training. Come in quietly, stand first of all, and scan where you need to sit, and then go quietly and have a seat. Hopefully you can wait for when there's a break in the session, and then you can go in there. It's important these days to have a device that transmits. I mean, that's what I would add. And I say to my participants, go in there and maybe take a device with you, depending on the type of training. If it's a training that you're learning Excel, or it's a hands-on type of immersive training, go with a laptop or something. Why? So that you can immediately begin to practice some of the things that you're learning, especially if it's an administrator's training or something like that. Immediately begin to practice what you're doing. And another thing I would say is, if it's better, to be honest, one etiquette I believe should be, don't for you, the participant, if you want to do the training, because you know that you need that training, pay ahead. Don't be on the day of the session, start to look for where to pay. Oh, I brought cash. Oh, can I transfer? Give me account. I don't just think it's right, because what happens is you already are destabilized going into that session. No matter how it's going to help you, that destabilization already doesn't work for you, right? Of course, so these are for you, the participant. For the person who is organizing, I think what I would say is, you need to let people know what they're going to get. Let them know materials will be provided. You might not put that on your flyer, but send a follow-on email. Yes, Joel, you must come with an open mind. That's part of your etiquette, but be prepared to that's part of that mental preparation. So you need to be mentally prepared for the session, right? So you come in physically, mentally, you must also be prepared for the session. And that's part of all that. And when you're mentally prepared, you would make sure that your mic is muted. You will come in early, you would sit down early, you would follow the event, you would learn, you would jot down all of those things when you are learning. For people who are organizing the event, you need to let people know what they will get, right? So leading up to the event, make sure that you pass across all the things they need to know. Let them know participants should be seated at a particular time. Let them know that writing materials will be provided. Let them know that they would get a snack and lunch, depending on the length of the training. Let them know, even if they need to bring, maybe if the place might be cold, please bring something along. And let them know that you get a bottle of water. Let them know. So let people know what to expect for the training. And then your training materials should not be, if you're not going to give training materials, let them know you're not going to give training materials. If you're not going to give your recording, if it's virtual, let them know from the beginning you're not going to give your recording so that they know you're not going to get a recording, or if the recording needs to be paid for, let people know that it's going to be paid for, so that they know to focus in class, come to class, or not be waiting for a free recording because they've attended the session. So you need to let people know all of these things. And you organize yourself, send the program schedule. Who are the speakers? How much time is allocated to the speakers? Who would speak first, second, third? What are the elements after? And send these schedules to the participants. There's email these days. There's WhatsApp. You can put people in a WhatsApp group and share that information as you're going along. But you, the participant, organizer, needs to understand what the purpose of your training is. You need to have that sequence clearly mapped out. I honestly would say that that's really important for me anyway. In this session, that's what I like to see. What else? So in the training as well, virtual training, please put your video on. If you are training, you should not have your video off in a virtual session. No, because that's people's connection to you. And then in a virtual session, don't talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Have activities. You may not have paid for, it may be a free Zoom, so you may not be able to put people in breakout rooms, but have activities in between, right? Ask people questions, call on people randomly, put something on your screen and say, oh, please do this activity. So that gives them a break from your voice and also gives them that reflection time, right? That's really important. So don't talk for long periods of time without taking a break and having an interaction, even if it's show me if you're here with an emoji, even if that's all that you're doing. But it's important that you get people on board, you get people on board with you. Mr. Olushola is here, so let me not say everything. Let me allow him.
Okay, good morning. A powerful one there. Yes, thank you. I think I want to, when COVID started, I think it started suddenly, and not too many people are used to
Hello, Olushola, are you there?
didn't even know what to press. In a Zoom training, somebody comes in, he say, I can't, your audio is not there. Meanwhile, there is a call over. You need to press so that you can hear what is being said. So many don't know. Some even put on the video unaware. So these are some of the challenges that came with the virtual training. The other aspect I want to add has to do with the delivery. Of course, KK brought that on board towards the end. It's not everybody, even though they understand the concept, is the one who prepared the slides or the slide was given. At times, the way we carry our audience along differs from one person to the other. Energy level equally differs. And there are people, though they are trainers, by the time people are getting to 100 or more, it becomes an issue. Some facial contact, audience analysis, some can do it. And I think these are some of the challenges. Then I will also want to add, for those who are the consultants, don't just bring anybody on board in the name of cheap labor. Yes, in the name of cheap labor, okay, I've got this contract. Oh, let me just go and look for undergraduates or core members or whatever who cannot really speak to the topic, even though you have prepared the slides for them. Your dexterity will be obvious. If you can speak to the topic, it will be glaring. If your knowledge reservoir is not below par, it will be seen. It's not just somebody coming.
Olumide, I can hear you.
Yes, especially if I'm the one that prepared the slide, that becomes a different ballgame entirely. Because a lot of things will just be running in my mind and my head and what have you, since I cannot put everything on the slide that they go. So I think the proficiency, the mastery of those that delivers training, it matters a lot. Hello?
Thank you. Yes, we can hear you.
So I think that will also help the people to have value, because at times, if the delivery is not well communicated, the trainee will be lost. And you know, in this part of this our climb, I discovered that people are not ordinarily, a lot of people are not ordinarily disposed to training. I tell you, even when it is free, and of course, talking to educators now, except you are able to carry them along. Some of them feel so bored, they feel tired, and at times you see them talking, and say, well, make we go. All this one, wahala too much, this and that. So at times, we need to bring them around. They are around physically, we need to bring them around psychologically. It will interest them, make them feel this thing is worth our time. And I think we want to live here, go and implement what we have been taught here. I think that goes a long way for me when it comes to training, the delivery. It matters a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And when you were speaking, Rhoda joined us. Good morning, Rhoda. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
The iconic Rhoda, you are welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning to the Good Morning Education Show.
We have
Good morning.
grandfather and grandmothers of training in the studio.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Talk about trainings, right?
So
Yeah.
the topic is getting the best from training. You want to contribute something?
Okay, sorry, I can't hear you, but hold on. Let me just give me a moment.
Okay.
I can't hear anyone.
Is it better now? So much to chew in today. Listening to KK, listening to Shola. I'm sure a lot of people will begin to take notes and see where they need to improve, especially with their disposition. And talking about training etiquette, I think we also need to address the issue of, the post-training. Most of the time, it seems like people just archive things that have been taught, and it's more like a show or a checklist of meeting up with some measure of class. So while we wait for Rhoda, I don't know if Rhoda is back. Keke, could you quickly touch in on that?
Sorry, I missed what you said. Talk about what?
So going through training to the point of post-training. So a lot of people don't even have desires and plans after that session. So it's almost like it was an archived event.
Yeah, I agree.
How do we make sure that
Oh yeah. So what I mean, we need, again, it's part of planning for the organizer. The organizer needs to be able to say, after my training, how am I going to follow on to make sure that these people are working on some of the things that I said? And it can be an email, right? And so that's why it's important that we as educators begin to understand the importance of using technology. What you simply do is, as people are registering, they're putting their emails, right? Those emails are going to a particular database for that training, for newsletters, and once you're collecting it there, what you simply do is that after the training, you send out a post-training survey to say, oh, this. After that, it could be 3 or 4 days after that, you send another newsletter to say, based on the training, these are some action points you might want to take a look at. And please share with me if you have any issues. I'll be happy to do a free one-on-one with you for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, right? So it might seem like it's stressful, but guess what? It helps you. Or you can even do a quick video and send to every participant that just, again, reinforces some of the things that you discussed on the training. So post-training is really important, but a lot of us don't do it. What I do is that for a lot of my trainings, I'd be very intentional about this, is that we create a WhatsApp group. and we add the people who come for the session into the WhatsApp group. So after the session, we go back in there, we ask them questions, we give them assignments. I can tell you for a fact, Rotimi, that 90% don't even do anything, of the participants. But we do it anyway. Anyway. So we create our WhatsApp group, we're there together. Sometimes we're there for a week, right? Some of them have questions, some are asking, because sometimes on Zoom, people are trying to conserve their data. So they don't want to, they don't want to be there for longer than is absolutely necessary. And so with that group, and this is for a virtual training, we ask them, we catch up together, and it really does help, right? It helps. And after a while, we then let them know we're going to shut down the group. So we shut the group, they're not able to comment anymore, and then eventually we ask people to exit, or if they want to exit. So that's what we do. If it's a post-training, we typically send abridged training materials. If it's a physical training, send abridged training materials and letting them know that, oh, you know what, if you have questions, you can always reach out to us via email. Again, maybe 1 or 2 out of the 20, 25 session people in the participants in the session might reach out, So again, it comes with preparation. Some people are just not prepared for the training. They just want to do it to say, oh, I went for this person's training. But that's how I see post training as one of the things that we should be able to do as facilitators and of course as participants. Back to you, Rotimi.
Thank you so much. Because I think Rhoda, are you back? Is Rhoda back?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. So 2 questions I'm going to direct to you. A lot of people seem to attend trainings and say, you know what, I was sent to attend. I was sponsored to attend. I was drafted, or better still, I was dragged to attend. So because sometimes these people are not the ones who subscribe themselves, which we also need to address. How do we deal with people who would genuinely seek out, professional and personal development in terms of training? But when people are sent, it's just like they want to fulfill all righteousness. Attend this event, attend this training. I've gone, I attended. This is the picture to show. This is the material to show. And for some people, that's just the closure. The moment you say, thank you very much for coming, they just end it there. I want you to really talk about that, Rhoda.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's a host of things. But maybe I can look at it from a design perspective and then from a management perspective. But let's not forget, we have to always be anchored on the fact that if the competition is there was ever to be between bread and books, bread will always win, because bread always seeks to survive. I want to feed now. I am very hungry. I can't think. It's kind of like teach a man when someone is very hungry, you say you want to teach a man to fish at that moment. I'm sorry, Oga, he's not going to learn to fish. He needs to eat first. So sometimes that mindset, maybe it's not a mindset, that reality hits hard in some situations. But to not digress and sort of like relate it to our conversation, there are 2 things that organizations do, I guess, if I was to summarize it, is one, they find out what innovation there is, right, in the education or in the space that they work in, and they realize that there is a skills gap within the staff and the employment, the team, and they want to close that gap, and they want staff to learn those new skills, because it gets what they likely want to take it on now as as something that they need to innovate on, and maybe it's even first useful, cost effective, etc. to them. Then there's the other part of, and this happens a lot within our climb, where organizations just want to tick the box to say, look, you guys, I know one thing about the Industrial Training Fund in Nigeria, in particular, where all organizations are meant to train their staff. So sometimes it's a ticking the box activity for the organization too, because when you train your staff, then you get access to some of that fund as an organization. I don't know if folks know about this, but there is that situation. So big or large organizations are meant to train their staff. Because every organization are meant to have like a percentage of their what like investments into their staff development in training. Now, when you do that, you declare what you have done, and then that there's some kind of funding that goes to that organization, and is a national organization. You can then retrieve that money back if you have done that training. So for sometimes it's just a tick on the box. But for whatever it is, the design part of it is very important, and this is what usually makes or breaks. So one, why should I go for training should always be the question answer, the anchor for and for people. Many times people don't get the why, and the training, the organization versus the training partner. Because sometimes it's the internal training and some and external training, which is that you're consulting someone else to train your staff, and not really getting the whys, and I'm not really getting the reason why they must translate the why and help the team visualize success with the why. So there is that design side of it. Like, you come together, what we used to do, we'll come together and talk about our needs, and everybody will talk about the needs, and everybody will talk about how it affects the line of their work and what they're doing to make sure that makes a combination of what should be trained. So in many times you think that the training that everybody needs is the same. That is the point of you trying to close the skill gaps. But where you want to innovate, then you feel like everybody needs to be there. But people need to know why they have to go for that training, why it is important in the line of their work, and of what usefulness it is to them. So that kind of thing sometimes is lost on organizations. There are some organizations that do it, and after they've done it, you guess what? The staff still comes back just feeling like I was forced to go for this training. You know what? Let me just do it. But then the experience now matters. So during training, what is happening? KK mentioned a couple of things. What is happening? I see that many times in trainings, most trainers, especially in our climb, are talking ahead of of people. And the reason why I say they're talking ahead of people is because there is nothing bigger than learning by doing. So for every time you are training and you find that your talking time is more than practice time, there is a problem, because people need to engage in the experience as you train. So you might be going into a training, I'm like, it's a blur thing for me. Let me just answer present. Yeah. And maybe they've even communicated the whys, you brainstorm in the office, here's how it's going to affect you, make you grow, and all of those things. You get there, it's just one bunch of training. That the experience is, I was being talk that, or I was being told things that I didn't have practical examples of how I'm going to engage with it. So again, the training experience matters. It's very helpful to get someone to really someone who did not visualize success with the content to come into it. So I'd say design matters, and then the experience matters. But and that's where I see it breaking down for a number of folks who do these things. And of course, the last one, if any of these two was ticked to be good, the bread versus books matter comes in, and is a purely mindset thing. Sometimes when you're hungry, you forget that what will make you to stop being hungry, or what will sustain feeding for you is actually for you to learn. And then that's where mindset kicks in.
Wow. You really taught a lot of things. The training experience, I also agree, matters a lot. It can change a lot of things. It can actually affect the mindset and shift it. And as we get to bring this to a close, getting the best from training, or trainings, we have a webinar coming up, the No Limit webinar coming up this weekend, the first of its series. And what should be the preparation to get the best at this weekend's webinar? So I'm going to start with KK, go to Olushola, and then come back to you, Rhoda. So KK, what should be the preparation for this to get the best at this weekend?
Certainly, your voice is suddenly low. I don't know if it's me,
Oh, really?
but
I said,
said
so what should
really,
be
really
the
getting.
preparation to get the best from this weekend's webinar?
Oh my goodness, guys. This weekend we have a webinar coming up. Oh my goodness. And it's a mental health thing, right? And that's what we've been talking about. The initial preparation starts on the inside of you. You have to be there. One thing you need to do is prepare your mind. So that's the first thing that you need to do. You need to say to yourself, oh, Mr. Rotimi, KK, Rhoda, Mr. Olushola have talked about this training on mindset this weekend. What should I do to prepare myself? The first thing you need to understand is, where are my faulty mindsets? My faulty mindsets with regards to my students, my faulty mindsets with regards to even parents in my school, my faulty mindsets with regards to me versus management. Where are these faulty mindsets? How about my faulty mindsets with regards to myself? How do I see myself as a teacher? Do I see that I'm the bottom of the ladder? Do I even see my importance? Do I understand the fact that I am contributing to the education sector? You need to work on your mind. Get your mind ready for the session. Be open-minded to learn new things, because there's so many new things that we're both going to learn from this session. Come with a sheet of paper. Please write it down. And don't just come and say, I'm writing it down. Come and remember what I said at the beginning of the session. Have your action points, right? What am I going to do differently? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing? Think about the barriers to your learning and say to yourself, how do I cut out those barriers? Because if there are barriers and you haven't identified them, or you haven't agreed that they exist, then you are going to learn, but those barriers are going to stop you from moving forward with that learning. So, yay! See you this weekend. Back to you, Miss Aaron TV.
Thank you so much. Olushola, are you there? Olushola, are you there? Your mic is muted. Mr. Olushola Olumide, are you there? Hello. Okay. Rhoda, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, that excitement from Kiki is just infectious. um, how do we prepare? I tell you what I think I always do. Particularly because what we're going to be discussing this time around is not just timely and contemporary. It is something that we haven't all unlocked. Honestly, it's an area that has always been gray in education, and like I've started to learn even more how critical mental health and social and emotional wellness leads to academic achievements. I think that is a message that has been lost in translation in the journey of creating or supporting or designing the main goal of education, which is learning outcomes for purposeful living. And this particular gray area has not often been communicated as very key to those learning outcomes, particularly for the ones that tickle our fancy in Nigeria, which is academic achievements. And only when you know how to unlock mental health and wellness can you unlock that gap that has been taking, that could take an A student to an A star, a D student to an A star, and an F student to an A star. An A star is not always about academics, but always about A star academics. I mean, in the areas that we always love, the sciences, the maths, but A star in life, in being aware of who they are, of their selves, being conscious about the decisions that they take, being socially and emotionally intelligent is a very gray area that a lot of people think they know. But believe me, when you attend this webinar, you will find that there is so much you are yet to unlock. So come and unlock. There's nothing as beautiful as opening the doors to things that lead to additional success to you. And it has a ripple effect, not only on the children around you, but on the results that come out from just busting out into another or higher level of professionalism in this sector. So join us and be super ready and intentional about learning with us on Saturdays and Sundays. 2 days, power pack. We will all be there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Before we get to just end, I'd like to play a quick video and then we'll bring the show to a close.
Hi everyone, my name is Rhoda Odibo, and I'm so excited to bring you the No Limit webinars. Yes, the No Limit webinars. And the No Limit webinars are a series of webinars happening all year round. Starting from January, we're going to be beginning with a No Limit webinar themed mental health revolution. You're going to be listening to experts in the field of emotional wellness, all the way to mental health wellness, and how counseling, a supports in mental wellness in schools. Just look at the flyers and see what we have there, and the lessons you'll be going through, the experiences you'll be going through, the opportunities and the platform for you to ask your critical questions, and most importantly, the skills that you need to learn. Join us.
Okay, welcome back.
I
Welcome
would.
back. That was Rhoda's cinema voice.
My goodness.
Okay, so you've heard it. I'm sure everyone is excited. I'm excited, and listen to all that's happened today and all that's been said from KK to Lushala to Rhoda. It just shows us that really trainings are good opportunity to become better and to do better. And it's just once we affect or work on the quality of preparation, definitely we'll get the best. And thank you to all uh, who commented today. Joel Olaniyo, thank you for the comment. Gideon Essien, been a long time. Bell of blessing to them
That's
all.
right.
Mark Educator, thank
Gideon.
you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining for your comments. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the Good Morning Education Show, same time. But remember, we also have the webinar. So please tell someone to tell someone, everyone out there, get them ready because it's going to be a great one indeed. And of course, our usual way of saying goodbye, we'll do that at the count of two. So, ladies, one, two, go.
It's
It's
always a great
always a
morning
great morning
on the Good Morning
on the
Education Show.
education show. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Everyone.
Bye.